Zieloni 2004 party was established in 2003. 2004 was supposed to in its name was supposed to highlight the European nature of the Green Party. The pathway we've come wasn't easy, but due to the fact that three Green MPs were elected to the same 2019, means that the party has been growing. So Green is growing has been functioning really well. When I'm thinking about the purpose of our activities and the changes that have been supported by the Greens, I can say that we've often been in the vanguard. It's a bitter satisfaction that climate-related threats, pollution-related threats have become true. Also, threats related to destruction of nature, a reduction of biodiversity, a threat that it will cause pathogens. Such things as coronavirus can shake the civilization of the whole world. Today, still, we are happy that we are in the European Union, which is paramount to protect the environment. So the funds established for the years to come will not be sufficient, but the European Union is trying to respond to that challenge, to the challenge of presented by IPCC scientists. We feel embarrassed looking at the current government that is manipulating a vast part of the society. There are a lot of young people here who don't remember the old communist times. I still can't believe that what the government is doing right now, it's actually copying the old methods. Those were gloomy times, without freedom, without passports, without work for those who didn't support the government, with a single party, single program, and single truth from a TV set. So when it comes to climate protection, the government sees no persistence in its measure. The Prime Minister is also not involved. I know that we've seen a big progress in the way we perceive the environment. The Greens play a big role here. The public opinion is more progressive than the government. 90% of the citizens support RES and only 90% support coal. Extreme phenomena also occur in Poland, and that's why it's so necessary to reduce CO2 emissions. And the radicalization of anti-abortion law resulted in manifestations of young women and men. Get the fuck out of here, or please the fuck out of here. This is the slogan addressed at the governing party, showing how determined and how upset people are. So all this is happening in spite of the pandemic and economic crisis. So it's quite optimistic. Because also the Greens are at the vanguard. So I wish you and myself a lot of courageous decisions responding in your response to the challenges of the 21st century. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Radek, for reminding us about the history of the Green Party since the early years. And now we are going to get to know the new Greens. The first are member of European Parliament, Sylwia Spurek, the Greens European Free Alliance. She's a member of that group at the European Parliament. Hi, Sylwia. Hello, everyone. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. Hello, go ahead.
Prawdopodobnie jedno z najważniejszych spotkań politycznych w Europie. To jedyne takie spotkanie, w którym biorą udział politycy i polityczki świadomi tego, jak zmienia się świat. jakie zagrożenie tworzy katastrofa klimatyczna, którzy wiedzą,
threat of the climate disaster, those who know how to fight climate change, eliminate inequalities, how to fight for human rights and animal rights, because we might not all be fully aware of these things on a daily basis. We are the only family, political family in Europe who has the guts to tell how things are. The current economy might harm climate, so we say time to say goodbye to climate. When we think about climate change as a source of diseases for children, and it turns human lives into despair, and it turns animal life into suffering, then we say this is an industry that enslaves us. So there is no room for this kind of industry in modern EU. When EU governments violate human rights, when they talk that people are ideology and they take away rights from women, we have the courage to say this is not democracy. And I think the Greens are the only political force that is independent of great businesses, of the coal mining lobby, because our interest lies in care. We care about the environment, care about animals and people. These are our values, and this is how we work, and this is that I deeply believe in these values, and that's why I joined the Greens. All my adult life has been related to fights for human rights. I first was an activist, a lawyer in an NGO, helping women and other domestic violence survivors. And then I was a co-author of a draft bill on fighting domestic violence and protection against domestic violence. Then I worked as a lawyer, and including the great honor of working on the ratification of the Istanbul Convention by Poland. As a deputy ombudsman, the first woman serving in this position in history, I controlled the government, kept a close eye on the government initiatives, and wanted to make sure that the government knows what to do to protect the rights of people with disabilities, LGBT people, women's rights, and the rights of the elderly. As a legal counsel, as a person with a PhD in legal science, I have always believed in systemic changes, because without systemic changes, the individual situation will not change for people who are victims of discrimination, of those who are oppressed. And then I ended up in politics, and then a few months later I joined the European Greens. I have always attached importance to your independence, the opportunity to act according to my values, to say what things are really like. And I think European Greens and Polish Greens have an enormous potential to change Europe and the world. But there is one condition: our voice, your voice, needs to be based on principles and needs to be heard. And I think in those countries where we are weak, we really need to cherish our values. We need to promote our program and agendas. We need to fight for independence and run away from political deals with people who hate women, with politicians who don't want to fight against climate change and climate disaster. We need to shy away from people who ignore animal suffering. We need to cut ourselves off from politicians who want to see compromises in human rights, because when we think about compromises in human rights, animal rights, climate change, compromises are inadmissible and unacceptable. There is no room for compromise here. There was a politician once who, instead of focusing on education, healthcare, and instead of investing into human rights, he invested in stadiums and football pitches. So we need to shy away from those politicians and cut ourselves off. Greens or death. Thank you for your attention. So, via SpotMe, you can ask more questions, and I'm looking at Urszula Zielińska. Well, 1 year ago, in a few months, we were very happy that she won an MP mandate, the Green MP from Warsaw. I was born in Warsaw and I was raised in Siedlce in central Poland. I was always interested in dancing, never keen on the environment, but I knew that I needed green trees and fresh air to relax. And when I was 18, I went to university, to Warsaw, and it smelled of exhaust fumes, which I felt was, the smell of big city, the urban life, urban freedom that I had as a student. But then I started getting tired of that smell, and I decided that if I need to live in a green city, I always want to live near a big park or a forest. And real estate agents said, oh no, for my student budget, I'm never going to find the housing. And then I found actually a nice flat next to the Łazienki Park, Central Park in Warsaw. And then I traveled around Europe. I was an Erasmus student and I moved to Vienna and Munich, and then I found a beautiful flat next to a wonderful nymph park in Munich, at the heart of Munich, and that was really great. And then I went out to work in London. And then I heard again, no, my student budget never ever next to a park. And then I moved in a beautiful flat next to St. Jacob's Park, and then it was close to Hyde Park, and this is where I spent a number of years, my beautiful, wonderful times. And slowly but surely I began to realize that Warsaw and Poland was not doing well. Somebody in Poland started destroying independent courts, started cutting off trees and parks, and especially there was tree logging in the ancient Białowieża forest. That was really hurtful to me personally, and I decided that time has come for me to return to Poland. And everybody was saying, come on, where are you going? It's better to leave Poland rather than return to Poland. That's a bad time. But I did that. That was over 3 years ago. And after returning to Warsaw, I just felt really stifled. I kept coughing for the first month. I just felt I was suffocating, and I knew that something bad was happening. And everybody around me just felt okay, and I just thought, this country has gone crazy. And I signed up for the Greens, and I went to the ancient forest to join the protesters, and then I joined signatures under petitions. I learned about smog and how to fight it, and then I joined the protests at the Polish Parliament, but I felt helpless and I felt ineffective. And then I looked at the Parliament building and I just said, I just have to get inside and start changing things from within. I started running in the elections. I started learning how to save money, how to campaign, how to find people who think alike and who would like to join me on the election list. And I started learning the political trade. And then my family said, politics is disgusting. This is really a swamp. Where are you going? But I did that again. And in November, there are 3 of us since last November. We are there. We are changing the world, Poland, from within the Parliament building in Poland. And now I have another goal, to make sure that the Ministry of the Environment and Climate in Poland finally becomes green, to make sure that this is a place that does care about the environment and climate. We need to make a difference here, and there is a long list of other things to do, and there is a lot of work coming up for us, and everybody is saying, that's unlikely, that's hard. So, well, that's about me. And now, Krzysztof, I'm really curious to know why you're here and why you do what you do. Will you tell us about it? Oh, yes, I'm very glad to. Since the beginning of this year, I've been a member of the Green Party. I've lived in Warsaw for quite a long time, but I was running for the parliament from the outskirts of Warsaw. There is a lot for the Greens to be doing that, but our campaign was quite conspicuous. I have a degree in economics. I have background in economics from Warsaw and Montreal, and for 11 years I was an economic journalist, mostly Polish radio, up until the moment when the current government started destroying the public media. Now I run a company, two coffee shops, less waste coffee shops, and I know that business can be responsible, can be sustainable, and we promote a waiver of plastic packaging. We use green energy, we save water, we don't waste food, we don't use plastic packaging, and now the time is not really easy for less waste thinking and for my business. And I'm a co-author of a book called Less Waste Poland, and we share ideas of how to reduce the environmental impact of businesses. I record green podcasts talking about climate change, and I do it every week. It's going to be the 53rd episode of my podcast, so I invite you all to listen to it. And apart from that, I'm now starting a podcast studio, and we have Areta Szpura, Ania Pięta, other eco-activists who use our studio, and also WWF Poland. Thank you, Krzysztof. I read your book, Less Waste Poland. That's really good. So you're a busy young man, aren't you? And now we will be connecting to Krasnolubuskie. We have Tomasz Aniszko, our second Green MP. Tomasz, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you too. So tell us about yourself. My name is Tomasz Aniszko. I'm a member of parliament from the Green Party, together with Urszula Zielińska and Małgorzata Tracz. We have a three-man strong representative of the Green Party in the Polish parliament. I joined the party in 2018, when there was electoral cycle beginning in Poland. First the local elections, followed by European elections, and then the national elections, all accumulated within 1 year. And I decided at that time that Poland is not really in a good situation, and I don't want to be a bystander anymore. I'd like to play a positive role in that process to really help Poland grow and develop. And 1 year ago, I was elected an MP, and I represent the Lubuskie Voivodeship, which is southwestern Poland, really westmost region in Poland. And the Green Party really enjoys the highest support in our region in comparison to other regions of Poland. And this might be surprising, because this region doesn't really have too many urban centers, and we tend to think that people who support green parties and green policies usually come from major urban centers. One excellent example is Urszula Zielińska and Małgorzata Tracz. They represent big cities, major Polish cities, Warsaw and Wrocław. In my region, we don't have those kinds of cities. This is like deeply provincial region, so to speak. We are far away from the capitals. We have our small capitals of up to 100,000 people. Most residents live in small towns and rural areas. I come from a town with only 4,000 inhabitants. So largely, This is a promising situation because it shows that the Green Party and its ideals can be quite appealing to residents of provincial towns. And we traditionally tend to imagine that in Poland, these people are traditional, conservative, supporting the current government, but there is hope that we can make a difference and we can make things change, and our values will be appealing to those people as well. I am a person who joined politics quite late in my life because I had not been involved in politics. I never was a member of any party. I was just doing my job, working in my career. So I cannot really have any track records of any particular political experience. I'm a kind of an accidental politician, and I'm a amateur politician, so to speak. But I suppose that many members, or most members of our party, are like that, because our party attracts people who have different kinds of careers and career trajectories, but not necessarily people who have been involved in politics and local government or elsewhere. So we're all newbies in politics. And newcomers, but hopefully I can set example to others so that other people would know that it's really a good idea to get involved, and all of us will have something to say in matters that concern us all. Given my previous experience of working in the academia and also working in NGOs, and also my business experience, also my community work that focused on areas such as environment protection and landscape protection. I am also focusing on these areas in my political activities, so broadly speaking, environmental protection. This covers things such as agriculture, forestry, and also quarries, and also regulations related to spatial management. And I hope that I can draw on my previous experience in these areas. So political work that I'm doing now is in a way a follow-up of the rest of my life in different roles, in different contexts. My office is located in the town of Słubice, located right on the border with Germany. So across the river, we have our partner city, a partner town, and that's why we work together with our Frankfurt am Oder colleagues. Annalena Baerbock, who is the co-chair of the Grüne, the German Green Party, she has an office there, and we have lots of joint initiatives. And when we're talking about those problems, these problems actually go beyond borders, and this is quite obvious here. So this cross-border cooperation, in our case, does not only involve our local governments along the border, but it is quite natural that we also collaborate with parties that are all members of European Greens, like our Green Party in Poland. So the German Greens are also a member of that. So I do hope that my activity is going to add some courage to people who maybe do not realize that politics needs them. So raise your hand, step out and join us to really handle your problems at the local level or maybe at the national level. Thank you very much. for your attention.
Tomek, thank you so much. If you have questions, now it's a good opportunity to ask them on our platform. And let me remind the panelists that we are pressed for time. So if we want to answer the questions, we need to stick to our time framework. Now, Dorota Grzeszczak, Deputy of the Mayor. Hello, Dorota. Hello, Dorota. Tell us about what you've been doing. Hello. I'm really happy that I can participate in this event. For years now, I've been professionally related to democracy, democratic rights, and environmental protection. Before, I worked as biology, chemistry, and environmental protection teacher. I was a headmaster of a local high school, and for more than a year now, I've been working on the local government. And how come I'm interested in those areas? Well, a local government is on the front line. It satisfies the needs of the local community. That's why I decided to become an official. Before, I was head of a department for education, and then I was appointed deputy mayor. What do I do? Well, my work is my passion, so I'm involved in social matters and education. Also, organization of work in my office. As a head of the department, I was able to carry out a big reform of education. The aim was to give full support to educational institutions functioning in the local area, especially in those difficult times during the pandemic. I created a shared services center, that handles administrative, financial, and HR matters for kindergartens and schools. And now we, the employees and the mayor and others, are facing a big challenge because we are implementing innovative solutions in order to eliminate architectural barriers in school, to make sure they are accessible to people with disabilities. We have this accessibility project, which includes different measures, investments and other measures to improve accessibility of our educational facilities for children and youth with disabilities. So, education, that's one thing. I'm also involved in environmental protection. I've been a member of the Green Party for 5 years now. But I've been involved in environmental protection for many years, many more years. We are now completing a project for regeneration of a park in our city. It's Gepert's Park. Heinrich Gepert was a 19th century rector and one of the co-founders of a botanical garden in the city of Wrocław. Few people know that he lived in our area. Regeneration is one of numerous measures aimed at improving afforestation, improving green areas, spreading green areas in the city. We are planting some trees and plants. We created a natural park And we do hope that these measures will improve the urban space we live in, because there is still a lot to be done, just as in any town. But also we want to highlight and improve tourist attractions, tourist values of our area. So we have 12,000 inhabitants. The municipality has some 20,000 inhabitants, and it's located at the German border. It's quite beautiful. And our location is not very forested. It's 28.8% of forests. So matters related to green organization of space or organization of green space is really important for me and my employees. And that's it. Thank you. Should you have questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor Dorota. Thank you. Very inspiring work. And now moving from Szpotawa to Szczecin, the city of Szczecin, another councillor of the Green Party, Przemysław Słowik. Przemek, can you hear us? Councillor of Szczecin. Tell us about yourself and your activities. Hello. Yes, I can hear you. Hello. Hi, Ula. Hi, Krzysiek. Welcome, everyone.
Dobrze, słuchajcie, no ja jestem, można powiedzieć, w polityce, ale też w tym
I have been in politics and in urban activism from 2018 permanently. When I started, I didn't want to call myself politician. Some people were calling me a politician, and I really didn't like that. But after 2 years of being active, I realized I am a politician after all, and I have to say it out loud. Yes, we are politicians, but we are politicians who want to change something, and the meaning of the word politician, because especially in Poland, the word politician has negative connotations. That's at least my experience. But I'm trying to send a positive message, saying that politics can be different. A politician is not someone who does his business and cheats and uses all means to reach his or her goal. I want to show that the politician takes care of the community, is a responsible person, and the values that politicians believe in are true and not just an empty postulate and that was used for the purpose of a campaign. When I started with Nowoczesna party, modern party. Unfortunately, this party stopped existing, even though it was a wonderful group of valuable people. And from the beginning of this year, I've been a member of the Green Party. We've been developing this party in the city of Szczecin and in the whole region. Well, I started with smaller things. I always knew that the budget, that the civic budget is really important, and I tried to develop it. When I was a councillor in 2018, I was trying to make sure that those civic values are spread. I introduced civic lessons in primary schools and upper primary schools. We had different sessions, different lessons. Before each session, I was organizing a civic lesson during which I was showing the students how we operate and what are the possibilities of taking action. Even if you're young, if you're a student, you can change the reality around you. This is why I came to politics. That's because I don't agree with the reality that's surrounding me. I don't agree to this low quality of governing, lack of ideas, and the current situation that we're in. What's happening in Poland when the people in charge, people who do not have the right awareness are at power. And I've never supported that. I decided that I need to change the reality. And now I am a member of a Green Party because the future we are fighting for in this party is particularly close to my heart, taking care of environmental protection, climate, it's all about stopping the climate catastrophe. And this is something that connects us in the Green Party. We may have different opinions about the economy. I'm more of a liberal, and for a while now I've been a social liberal, but we have a lot of common values around the planet we live in. So climate transformation, bringing it about in Poland, talking about it in Poland, it's the right that every citizen deserves. Climate transformation has to be carried out because we are one of the biggest polluters in this part of the world, and we need to do our job and save the planet. And that's it from me. I know we are behind the schedule. We are slightly pressed for time. So that's it from me.
Thank you very much. Don't be so modest. You have actually contributed to the delay. And now we need to quickly jump over to Lower Silesia. We have Laura Kwiatkowska. She is a member of the Young Greens Party, and she will tell us all about that. Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation and for the opportunity to be part of the panel. My name is Laura. I'm 18 years old. I'm at the final grade of secondary school. I'm a member of board and a press spokesperson of Ostra Zieleń, which is a green activist organization. I'm one of the initiators of the legal abortion campaign that happened in April this year during the first attempt to tighten the abortion law by the ruling majority in Poland. Together with Victor, since January, I have been fighting for the resignation of the Children's Rights Ombudsman, and I also have the pleasure to be an ambassador of the Youth Forum LGBT+. I'm a member of the education team, which is a body at the Consultation Council for the National Strike of Women in Poland. I co-organize protests in my hometown, but on a daily basis, I am an activist working in environmental protection, women's rights, human rights, reliable education, democracy, and the rule of law. These are my areas. Hello? Laura, can you hear us? Have you lost connection? Can you hear us? Laura? Yes, I do. Yes, I can. Is there anything? Is that it? And then we would move on to Łódź? Yeah, I think we can move over to Łódź. Thank you very much. And fingers crossed for all of the things you have been doing in your town, Oleśnica and also Wrocław, and I know you have been totally active, and thank you for that. Now we are moving swiftly over to Łódź. Is Victor there, and can he hear us and see us? Yes, I can hear you and see you. Hi, my name is Victor Miazek, Ostra Zieleń Green NGO. So hi, I'm a secondary schooler, and I'm also the president of board of our organization and also member of Youth Greens. I'm one of the youngest leaders of European Young Greens organizations, and I'm also one of the founders of Youth Climate Strike, and I'm very active in that. Last year I started a campaign, Time for Change, to restore the nighttime train connection between Brussels and Poland. Because of the pandemic, the campaign was suspended for the time being, and for a number of months I have been making attempts to dismiss the current Children's Rights Ombudsman in Poland. My main focuses are LGBTQ+ rights, climate policy, youth policy, and public transport, or collective transport, because I personally interpret the right to move around as the right for safe and secure and accessible transport, which is environment friendly. And I have been recently helping along organizing strikes, which is the main part of my activism at the moment. Thank you. Wonderful. Is that it, Victor? No. Is that it? Yes. I mean, the time is up almost. You perfectly organized. Thank you very much, everyone. And it's pure pleasure working with Ostra Zieleń, Victor and Laura. And now, Krzysztof, shall we move over to questions? Yes, I think it's high time for questions. We have been watched and heard on SpotMe, so there are some questions. Our question to Sylwia Spurek, our member of European Parliament: do you feel that you have a real impact on Poland's politics and policies? So we know about your activity in European Parliament, but do you think you can make a real impact in Poland? I have been a European MP, and I really focus on systemic changes related to EU. And those who know about EU will know that 70% of the law that is mandatory in Poland is actually enacted by EU bodies. So certainly my impact is very strong in that way. But more importantly, and this is why I decided to join the world of politics, is that I can speak very loudly about things that have been swept under the carpet so far by many politicians, matters that have been ignored, to be the voice of those who have no voice, to be the voice of those who are left behind, people with disabilities, the elderly, who cannot always exercise the right for independent life, to speak about domestic violence, family violence, to speak about women who are not always safe in their homes, to speak about the rights of LGBT plus people who are excluded, who have no right to enter into marriage or start a family in countries like Poland. So I really make the most of my right to be the voice of other people. And I feel that I should really be faithful to principles. And that's why I've been talking about these matters, which are very much in line with my values. And I have noticed that 3 of the most controversial statements that concern those values are very clearly heard in the debate. Well, violence has gender, and I talk about victims of domestic violence, and 90% of adult victims of domestic violence are women. Abortion is okay, is number 2. We have no right to stigmatize women who had an abortion, who will have an abortion, or considered an abortion. Abortion is okay if they thought so. And number 3 is there is no feminism without veganism, because any feminism should be based on opposition against the exploitation of those who are weaker, of those who we want to control. So these statements I make very often, and I speak in public using those statements, and I hope I can be an eye-opener for those who have not been very critical of the surrounding realities, but now they begin to explore, to read, to check things out, even to discuss with me, Sylwia Spurek, who might be saying some rubbish, and then it turns out that I'm not really talking gibberish. I really make a point or have a point somewhere. So some of the actions that might seem controversial will be continued, even just if I can just be the voice of those who are voiceless. Thank you very much, Sylwia. Now a question goes to maybe Przemek and Dorota, if you care to answer. So we have a question about the perception of the Greens in your towns and cities. What could you tell us about that? And secondly, when you think about the ruling party called Law and Justice in Poland, have you noticed, as councillors, as Green councillors and city activists, have you noticed any successes, anything that has been positive? Have you noticed anything like that?
Nie wiem, kto pierwszy.
I don't know who's supposed to come first. Okay. Przemek? I'm sorry. Could I please ask you to repeat the question? I was miles away, I'm sorry. I just couldn't hear you very well. So, in your town, what is the perception of the Green Party? Are they known at all? And what do people say when you say, oh, I'm a member of the Green Party? I haven't really had any negative cases, or I have never encountered negative reactions. We have been active for over 5 years in our town, and we are quite a considerable group now. And some of our activists have been involved in local elections. One of our Green Party members, Maciek Boryna, he's a local councillor at the powiat level or county level. So I've never had any negative reactions personally, and I never hide the fact that I am a member of the Greens, that I care for human rights, that I participated in women's protests, and many of our women officials, local officials, have been involved in these protests as well. So even though we might be a small community, we nevertheless take up the matters related to human rights, protection of human rights, and also matters such as environment protection. And certainly some members of the public understand that and appreciate our involvement. And like in any community, there might be opponents, but we don't really have a raging dispute, so to speak, in our town. And one other thing that has just occurred to me, I have been involved in education for many years, and when I was still a teacher and then a school principal, and now with my current involvement, I saw that mandatory curricula in Polish schools have not highlighted all the content related to environment or environmental education. This has always been neglected and pushed on the back burner, and I believe that the greatest good can be done, with respect of those programs and education. When we educate children about human rights, when we educate kids about the environment, Dorota, we really need to put full stop and move over to Szczecin, to Przemek.
Jasne, jak
We
jesteśmy
are
odbierani
under time pressure.
Szczecinie.
Okay, how are we
W zasadzie
perceived in
stworzyliśmy
Szczecin
strukturę
as
od
Greens?
roku.
Well, we created a
Jesteśmy
structure,
świeży w działaniach. W
and
czasie
we are very
zatrzymała
new.
nas faktycznie trochę pandemia,
On our
ale
way,
był to
we were
moment
stopped
wyborów
by the
na
pandemic,
Polsce, kiedy,
but in early June, I
wszyscy
think,
wyszli na ulicę,
we
więc także
all
jak
went
wyszliśmy,
into
zrobiliśmy
the
akcje
streets. So
rozdawania
as Greens,
sadzonek,
we took
sadzonek
into the
papryk,
streets.
pomidorów,
We were
kurasami.
handing over
Jesteśmy,
seedlings of
sadziliśmy
peppers
od ziarna
and of
taką
other
sadzonkę razem ze strążeniem,
other plants and that were homegrown seedlings, and then we got 200 of such seedlings handing out to the inhabitants of our city. So responses have been neutral at worst, never negative. In our city, we are always or often at the extreme pole in the city council, because at the other extreme we have the far right or right-wing party, and there are also non-partisan members of the council who are sometimes also, they do not really profess very clear values, but maybe they lean towards the right-wing party. And we as Greens could represent the responsible part of politics, and we talk about climate change, we talk about destruction, we talk about human rights, and we also are some of the very few people who fight for a secular city and for freedom of belief. I recently responded to some abuse by priests who were teaching religion classes at schools, and they were banned from teaching. So these are small steps and small successes, and we try to make sure that we are more recognizable and that our structures expand, and I hope we're going to grow stronger. And we're going to grow in importance in Szczecin and also in lawmaking in the city council. And this is the time when I think Green Party is going to grow all around Poland, because the time has come for Green Poland and for green transformation. Political transformation as well. Yes, are we supposed to finish? Or do we have any time? I think maybe we have 2 minutes. So I really need to ask a question to Laura and Victor.
Because you had some elections, and I wanted to ask you what nice things you've done and what are your plans for the nearest future. Let me start and tell you what we've done recently. This past year has been different than all the other ones because of the pandemic, and we had to learn to operate on the internet exclusively. And I think we did quite well. And we implemented a project called Young Green Local Government, and it was really successful. We also joined the campaign of Sylwia Skórek, a campaign against violence against women. And all these campaigns were different than the ones organized in previous years. But I think we are going in the right direction now. We learn to operate under the current circumstances. Laura, what about the future? What are your plans? Well, as regards the future, like Victor said, because of the pandemic, we had to change our plans, but our assumptions for 2021 combine both the conditions of pandemic as well as the possibility of joining forces and operating together. We want to change our image on the visual media, change the contact, and take care of our organization. Because we had those huge plans of meeting with different groups. We wanted to meet in person, but we had to move that to the internet, and we meet regularly online. But our main strategy, main goal, is to work out a plan for the development of our structures, taking into account the possibilities of personal development of our activists. Thank you. That's great, Laura. So all the best. So let's close the session. Krzysztof, can you sum it up? Yes, thank you for this meeting. It was a brief meeting, so if you want to keep talking to us, you will find us on social media. I guess everybody writes back eagerly, maybe not right away, but definitely people respond. I guess we have 2 minutes, maybe one question to Tomek Miśko from Lubuskie. Tomek, there is this question whether you are satisfied working in the same, so in the Polish parliament, when you're in the opposition. Being an MP in the opposition has its privileges. Namely, you can demand a lot, you can have a lot of requests, you can say a lot of things, because you're not responsible for implementing. But then it's quite frustrating. And like in the case of the Polish parliament, the Polish Sejm and the division there, well, our impact on decisions is almost non-existing. Even though the MPs of the opposition, all of them together, are very active and have been working really hard, doing everything they can. The other side is not even trying to enter into a serious discussion. They're not accepting any criticism. They're not accepting the hand that we are reaching out. So this is a theater where the Sejm validates only the decisions that are taken place at the seat of Right and Justice Party. And the decisions are brought into the Sejm in order to translate them into law. Okay, full stop here. Thank you. Radek Gawlik, Sylwia Skórek, Tomasz Aniszko, Dorota Grzesiak, Przewiek Słowik, Wiktor Miazek, Urszula Zielińska, and myself, Krzysiek Grzymian. Thank you very much for this meeting. You can also find it on Facebook of the Green Party. Thank you.